Well, the reason I became a teacher was because I really started in Girl Scouts. I've been in Girl Scouts since first grade, and I made it all the way up to 8th grade or 12th grade, where I earned my gold award. And that program really helps you go from a Girl Scout to a leader. And then you end up teaching the younger girls in the program, and it just kind of was a natural bridge to teaching. I really enjoyed being a mentor and educating the girls with different things, the arts and crafts, how to, make a fire, how to make a table out of, some sticks and some twine. And it just naturally lent itself to becoming a teacher and also being a mentor for all the students and for to teach them, to help them along the way and help them become the person they were meant to be in life.
Well, so both of my parents teach, and my dad actually teaches Montessori. He's been retired for about 20 years, but I would spend snow days in his classroom helping out his students. So when I went to college, I knew that I wanted to do something in the schools. So when I started the Montessori classes at Xavier, it just felt natural. It felt like it was part of me.
The more I teach, I just get the most joy out of those the tiniest little moments in my classroom where, a student is able to demonstrate something that they have really struggled with prior and they're so excited. Or a student, learns a little lesson in behavior that's that one more tiny little step to getting them where we want them to be. And then just throughout my building, if I walk around and dozens of moments every day that you hear great teaching going on. I hear teachers and instructional assistants and students and their interactions, and that just really keeps me going every single day.
I'm like the teacher that's like really in your face. I'm like out there and do all the crazy stuff. And one of my favorite lessons to teach is no taxation without representation, and I always dress up like King George. And I wear the crown and the cape, the red little thing, and I collect the taxes, and that is something the kids, I always come into the room and, with my awesome British accent that I do, and we pull tax cards and they have to, pay for the Stamp Act or pay for the Sugar Act, but that is something that's like one of my favorite things to do. But one day my principal walked in and he just opened the door and I was like, hello. And he just shut the door and just let me keep on going.
Being a special ed teacher, director, I love the light bulb clicking. So when they finally are like, aha, I get it, it just makes you feel like you actually are making a difference when they finally get it. And then they can teach other kids how to do it. Okay, now you be the teacher and you help them, who are struggling. So that's what my favorite part is.
Definitely the thing that I love most about teaching are the relationships that I build with my students over the school year. Not just my students, but their families. I keep in touch with a lot of my kids for years after they've been in my class. In fact, the person recording this video right now is one of my students I had last year, and he is the younger brother of two students that I had. One is in her early 20s and the other is getting ready to start college. So my students definitely become a big part of my life. I have been invited to graduation parties and baby showers. So that is for sure the best thing about my job.
The thing that I love most about teaching is just the relationships that you build, whether it's relationships with students or the families, the teachers that I work with. Some of those relationships last a year, or they're, for that year, there are these really great relationships that you have built or you've stood in. I've had students who have maybe I've had a couple of students who have lost people who are close to them or parents who are close to them, and for, that span of time, you feel like you're that person for them, that person who can help them through that or come alongside them through that. And then there are other relationships that have lasted, my career.
I've learned a lot from the pandemic. One thing that I've learned is that 6-year-olds can navigate iPads better than I can. Another thing that I have learned is just to give grace, and I've learned that things don't always have to be perfect, which is hard for me. And probably the most important thing that I have learned is just how to incorporate technology into my first grade lessons. I will forever be a better teacher because of my experiences throughout the last year.
All students in our school and all our district have either an iPad or a MacBook. And I was a big proponent of doing everything that I could on the iPad. We had them out all day, every day. When that's all the only way I could communicate with my students, I decided right then and there that technology is not the end-all be-all. There is no substitute for being able to look at those students, to be able to see in their eyes how they're struggling.
I think despite all the challenges that we faced this year, students have shown me that they're resilient. They're willing to adapt. They change, and they've forced me to try new things. They're always willing to try new things. And I think, despite all the challenges, they have shown me that teachers and students can do anything that they put their mind to.
So during virtual learning, that was a hard change for everybody, and I had a lot of moments of self-doubt and wondering if the kids could handle it, but I think what I learned is that I am more flexible than I thought as a teacher, and the students were more flexible and resilient than I had thought they could be. We all kind of were learning this new world together, and I also learned that I can teach cats as well as children. We did have a cat join us one day, kind of dangling by his armpits while I read a story. And so, I thought I just rolled with it, reading stories to cats. So, it was a learning experience for everybody last year and this year. And I feel like we all came out of it on the other side okay.
So a quote that I always like, and I have posted it several times on different places, and it is attributed to a 6-year-old. So I'm not really sure if it's valid, but it says, "My teacher thought I was smarter than I was, so I was." And I definitely believe in that, because my job as a first grade teacher is to instill confidence. No one will grow or learn if they don't believe they can, so it's my job to make sure they know that I believe in them.
John Wooden had a quote about sports, and he said, sports do not build character, they reveal character. And I feel like I use that a lot with a lot of different situations. Obviously, it's a great one for sports, but I think anytime you're dealing with a tough situation, whether it be in the classroom or professionally or anything, your character really, in those situations comes out. And I always use that quote to kind of help students realize, maybe, you need to rethink of how you're going to respond to tough situations.
I've put a lot of thought into this quote. In our district in Dayton, we were encouraged to come up with a personal mission statement. So I just choose a quote and kept it simple for my students that I say all the time. So my quote is, "I believe in you. Do you believe in you?" This is very important to me because teaching a growth mindset is a huge part of my everyday for my students, especially since I teach reading and writing, and it's very easy for students to get into that fixed mindset. And so I just consistently say, "I believe in you, but you have to believe in you," and I just feel like that's so important.